It's a Diwali which seems to have taken the sunshine away. It's late afternoon here in one of Delhi's top schools, and as you can see around me, it's been a smoggy kind of day all along. It's the first day back in school after all the festivities, but there seems to be nothing to cheer. Today, as a special initiative, we're starting a series of programs about the emergency that's there in the capital and in other parts of the country as well. In Mumbai, in Lucknow, about the toxic air that's descended across various parts of the country post-Diwali. And that's the initiative which schools across the country are signing up for a clean air. So it's an appeal to all the policymakers, all the decision makers to make an urgent intervention. Let me just tell you why this initiative involves all our children. Well, if you look at some of these graphics, some of this data that's coming in, that's monitored by various pollution control boards across the country, you will find that the pollution levels peak early morning after all the trucks and everything are let off all around. The pollutants build up and they're there, the highest levels are there till 8 a.m., which means that children who are at bus stops, school-going children, are the worst affected. So we'll be speaking to a lot of the kids over here. If you see behind me, there are a lot of posters and other things that they've drawn in order to make their voices heard, their concerns known. A lot of them are suffering themselves. We'll also be joined by, over here with me, Dr. Sanjeev Bagai. He's a pediatrician. Anisha Raman of the Center for Science and Environment. We also have from the Aam Aadmi Party, Atishi Marlena joining us to take some of the question of the students. And we have Divya Bhatia, the principal of Amity Sarkit, talking to us about the various problems. Remember, across the city today, lots of schools reported high levels of absenteeism as well. So what should be done? In international schools, they are having no outside playing for children as one of those urgent measures. Is that something that everyone should now take up as well? Or should playtime be banned altogether till the air levels become safe again? But first, let's just see. My colleague Nikhil Pandey spoke to some children in schools. Here's what they said.
Tell us, has the pollution problem increased after Diwali?
Yeah, definitely. What I think is after so many pollution levels increasing and people getting to know that the pollution levels have risen so high, so I thought that Diwali would bring in the reduction of pollution by basically not bursting crackers, but I see no difference because people are continuously bursting crackers.
We all took a pledge for Anti-Cracker Diwali 2016. So we all hope that maybe there will be a change this time. But somehow, as we see, the pollution level has not shown drastic changes.
And are there any health impacts that this is having on you in particular?
Well, in our school, a lot of students have suddenly started having asthma, and it's been detected like very recently. So it's basically because of the pollution levels in Delhi.
I think people will start understanding the bad effects of crackers and pollution. Already there are so many cars in Delhi which are unavoidable. I think this is something which everyone can easily avoid.
It's quite visible fog with, pollution. It's kind of smog right now.
But you do believe that there is an increased health hazard?
Of course. There is a hazard. It's quite visible. Smog.
And Delhi is becoming an increasingly polluted city.
Right now it is.
Okay, so the first talking point really is there an emergency right now, or is this the normal post-Diwali scenario that we're looking at? Anisha Raman, I want to ask you, does it feel like it's the worst, or is it really that bad?
It is. So even before Diwali, we had in October, 57% of our days were already in the category of very poor. And on Diwali day, it had reached severe levels, and we are still in severe levels, which means that any person who's a healthy person who is exposed, who has prolonged exposure to this air right now, could start feeling respiratory issues like breathlessness, and most of these chemicals in the air right now, thanks to the firecrackers, are carcinogenic. And also, because the wind speeds in Delhi are so low, they are almost down to zero, that they would not disperse naturally. And they do not, since they do not have the assistance of the natural influence or natural elements, they are all suspended in the air right now. And what happens during winters is that, so what we have is a planetary boundary layer, which is 1 kilometers upward from the Earth's surface. It lowers down from 200 to 300 meters. What it essentially does, in fact, is just traps in all the dense air, which is your basically pollutant.
Especially worse.
This year especially is worse because the wind direction towards Delhi is from Punjab, Haryana side, from below, and from every side actually. And Punjab and Haryana have witnessed massive farm fires. It has been like immense, and it has unabated actually. And despite so many measures, so many protests, nothing has actually stopped these farm fires. And what basically happens is, thanks to this wind direction towards Delhi, all these pollutants are now directed towards Delhi atmosphere. So we have the trucks polluting us, vehicular pollution, and pollution from the farm fires and chemicals, firecrackers.
You know, which is especially worrying because the Green Panel had banned all of that, had asked all states to take action against them. The Delhi government woke up and also appealed to them. So despite that this is happening, it's especially worrying. We have someone who's especially suffering. Tell us, just to explain to people, because we are all feeling it, we are all feeling the impact of it, but for young children must be especially bad. How exactly are you suffering from this?
I actually have, I'm an asthmatic patient, so for the past few days I have been experiencing wheezing, I have been experiencing breathlessness. So that is especially a problem around Diwali, because the night of Diwali, when I was actually out on my terrace, I was coughing all night, and I had to stay indoors for the next 2 days itself because of the bad pollution that was there. Even in the morning, it is so hard to actually come out of the house, and you just feel it in your lungs. I feel it that it's the air is so heavy. So it's bad.
And ma'am, I wanted to ask you, are a lot of the children taking off? Because I was speaking to some of the schools as well. They said they have up to 25% children who are away.
I think I would say that too, because in almost every class today, 7 to 8 students were absent.
7 to 8?
Yeah. And
in a class of 40?
In a class of, in a class which means about 80 to 100.
Okay.
80, 2 sections we have. And it's a real problem for schools, because here we thought chikungunya might abate and now students would start coming. We had so much absenteeism in the past 2 months because of that. During the exams, children were sick. And now after Diwali, it is wheezing. Even if they are not asthmatic, I think what the crackers and the pollution has done to them is that almost everybody, including me, we've all come back coughing after Diwali. So everyone is suffering the impact. Whatever we may have done, we have campaigns to make the children pledge that there'll be no crackers this Diwali. And I hope consciously some of them have not burst crackers. Yet, in fact, in the evening of Diwali, I felt that the noise was a little lesser.
I'll ask you about the measures that you're taking, especially as well. But Dr. Bagay, if I can ask you, are you seeing this in the sick rooms of hospitals as well? Are you getting more people at the emergency rooms with people who just can't breathe?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the most vulnerable age group are the smaller kids who are exposed in the early morning hours. But there's an acute, almost 20 to 30% increase of incidence of wheezing, bronchitis, cough, fevers, ear infections, throat infections. That's just one part of the system of a body which is respiratory. But a lot of students have chronic headaches, they have fatigue, they have poor academic performance, they have cluster headaches.
And again, I'll ask you the same question I asked Anisha as well. How is it different or worse than last year? Because part of it is seasonal as well.
Yeah, I think the Diwali crackers is just one of the excuses which we keep giving to everyone. It should have been banned many years back. But I think the acute onset of Diwali, the fog and the smog settling down over Delhi, the wind speeds and the humidity, and it's engulfed the city in a smog-like condition. So that's obviously exaggerated the symptoms. But my fear is in the next 2 or 3 months, this is going to be more and more. So we obviously need to be careful and worried. Yeah. And I think very clearly we need a clear rollout for many years, which should start right now.
I know you have some suggestions, but before that I want to ask Atishi Marlena as well. Atishi, you heard some of these students, you heard their teachers as well. Tell me, is there any initiative planned? Because the AAP government is usually all for novel ways of tackling this. One of the things which is especially worrying is that the early morning, which is the time when children are usually headed to school, that's the worst, till 8 a.m. Are you planning a change of timing?
There's multiple things, Sunitra, that I'd like to address here. Number one, yes, Delhi government is planning a slew of measures. There have been multiple things that have been done over the past few months, not just starting from today, but in terms of a very serious crackdown on construction sites to ensure that they are covered, to ensure that the dust is regularly watered so that dust is not flying in the air. But unfortunately, the problem is one that needs not just Delhi, but multiple states of North India to actually come together. We have repeatedly tried to initiate talks with states, especially Punjab and Haryana. Unfortunately, they have not come, the chief ministers have not come forward. The central government is convening a meeting in another 2 days' time, and we are hoping that something comes out of it, because a large part of the pollution that is happening in Delhi during the winter is coming from the burning of crops of Punjab and Haryana. So while we have planned a multiple series of initiatives in terms of cleaning and sweeping of roads, watering of roads to ensure that dust doesn't go back into the air, in terms of, as I said, a crackdown on construction sites, in terms of ensuring that crematoriums become green, yet the bulk of this issue would not be resolved until other states also come forward and prevent this burning of crops. Because year after year, it is this time of year once crops burn where unfortunately things deteriorate. Second, as already has been mentioned, this year is also a peculiar climatic condition, because it seems that crackers, and this is of course based only on anecdotal evidence, that there have been less crackers burnt this year. And crackers, interestingly, is one of the few things where campaigns have actually worked over the past many years, where schools have come forward, government schools, private schools, done extensive campaigns with children, and the consumption and use of crackers has actually reduced. And for most people who are living in Delhi, what I'm hearing from them is that the noise of crackers actually seemed to be less this year. And even the sale of crackers seems to have gone down. Unfortunately, because of a specific weather condition of much lower draft and wind speed at this point of time, the air or the pollution has not dispersed, which goes to show that probably by next year, stronger measures need to be taken against crackers, and just an awareness campaign may not be enough.